Thank you for being so early. So, I will tell you this from the perspective of someone who's been both employer and an employee over the last 10 years, mostly a Perl developer. So that's just to contextualize all this. So what? Don't play. Okay. So about me. That's a joke, by the way. Just to give you this. I was an academic. I did maths mostly, and I was teaching maths and computing, and I had research and development teams. I had teams doing software for formative learning, formative assessment. I had budgets, I had deadlines, I had big groups of people teaching over semesters with, again, budgets and deadlines. So that's where I got my understanding of how constraints set themselves up in the workplace, as well as doing the maths and programming. And these are the places I've worked. I should say that this is by country. I haven't worked in Perth, and I haven't really been too far in that direction either. So then the second half of my career, which we're in at the moment, was essentially coming out of academia and finding a job as a developer in London. And mostly as a Perl developer of web-oriented stuff. That it was going from advertising through retail and search engines and stuff like that. So that's the context of all this. Over the last year, I've been running Geek Uni. It went live in November last year. And so I'm also teaching online mostly to individuals and also to companies. And this is where I work now, even though I don't move around much. And I have no idea how much area is covered. Interesting that that's empty, but I won't take it personally, it's where I'm from. Okay, so here's the topic that we're going to discuss. Now that you know who I am that's talking about it, and you can always sprinkle it with salt. How do you grow a team? And how do you grow a team in a healthy way? And not just any team, but a developer team, and not just any developer team, but a Perl team, okay? And it's not just because we're at a Perl meetup that I'm saying that. So this is the ideal way in which to grow a developer team. So this is how many developers you have in the team. These are the years, and this is the amount of work that you give to the recruitment agent. Number of developers that they recruit for you. Don't worry, it's not going to happen, because that's not true. Developers leave, and so we're going to have to do some work with the recruiters to get more people in order to grow the team. That's pretty obvious, right? But this, I think, is not the perfect way of growing a team. Okay, so if people stick around for only 2 years in the workplace, then you end up hiring half as many people as you have in order to keep the size of the team increasing. And this isn't exponential or anything, this is like 20 years, so it's not a ridiculous thing to try and achieve. But if you have people leaving after 2 years, it's not healthy. Because it's one thing to think of how much you're paying these recruitment agents, but quite another to think about how much work you're investing in getting people to come up to scratch in time. Because even if they're already a good Perl developer, learning the business 6 months at least before they're being really productive. Okay. So, I think this is what we can hope for, and I'd like people's views on whether my numbers are way out. But so the idea here is that you're recruiting approximately 20%. Is that right? 25% of the number of people that are in the team, with a view to knowing that you want to increase at that rate and people will probably only stick around on average for 5 years. How's that sound? So I think this is the goal, that we would like to have healthy, thriving, productive Perl teams, because if it goes much further up than that, then we're going to spend more time training people about how the business works and being productive, more productive on account of the number of people there. So, how to grow a Perl team with moderate churn. Churn is the red line, yeah? So you don't want that to get too high. Again, a joke, moderate churn. In fact, I'm not sure I even get that anymore. So here are the 5 things which I promised to tell you about in the talk. I said 6 before, for some reason. I merged them. So, balanced recruitment. What the hell do I mean by that? I should pull out my notes, actually. So this makes complete sense, I'm sure. This is on day 1 of the business starting, and these are the kind of people that you recruit, okay? I have one of these in the back, I'm not quite sure which one though. No, I mean, I know which person it is, I just don't know which character it is. So, okay, so you need people who can guess at the direction of the business as they're coding, okay? We're not talking writing specs and going through the whole process of, does everyone agree that's what we do? There's a lot of experimentation and a lot of just going out and finding new territory and basically, to some extent, driving into some level of detail the business. But that is not forever, okay? Then you need something which is more mature. And by mature, I mean you've got people who've been sticking around for a long time, they're advanced developers, they're going to get bored, right? On day 1 it was exciting because, yes, they were sudoing as root and writing code from scratch on live. Now, some sysadmins come in and said, no, you can't do that anymore. You have to develop and deliver in a sensible way. So you've got to keep them entertained, right? Because they know a lot about the business. You don't want them to forget that. So, what do? You set up a team where you have some junior people, some senior people. The senior people can mentor the junior people, and they can do with the business context that they have, they can make a lot of decisions and have a very productive team. The junior people, they come in maybe knowing no Perl, maybe knowing a bit, but they learn first of all the Perl, then they learn the business and the way it all works together. So I think that if you have that kind of structure, it's much more likely that people are going to stick around because they feel as though they're contributing something of their own value. Continuous learning. So I didn't learn Perl there. That's where I went to university. That's Sydney University. In fact, when you Google for university for images, it's the first one that comes up. And it's on a Canadian site for some reason. It's some kind of strange research grant thing. But anyway, they don't teach Perl. And there's a reason they don't teach Perl. Any ideas?
Is it trendy enough?
A bit of that, maybe. No? Oh, come on, surely you guys have been in this area for a long time. I'd like to know your thoughts.
There is more than one way to do it. Very hard to teach it in university.
Yeah, I'd say that's a large portion of it. I was on the phone yesterday to someone from a university saying, could you put together a course for us? And he was dragging me along through all the details of how it's going to structure into the new degree and blah, 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 blah. And he said, so, can you do it in Java? And I said, no, I'll do it in Perl. Python? No, Perl. And then okay, he didn't quite hang up, but it was pretty close, okay? So the bottom line is that universities aren't comfortable with it. You can't teach Perl unless you spend a lot of time in it, because there's much too much detail. It's more like teaching a human language, and academics who are teaching programming tend not to be experts at human languages, whereas us developers, because we're immersed in it all day, every day, we know it, but academics tend not to. I was an exception to the rule, because at my university, we were a kind of a young university and competing very hard for students, and so we were famous for getting the highest number of people into jobs at the end with a degree. And one of the magic tricks was teaching them Perl. Of course, they weren't open to publicise that. So the university I was working, which is not that university, but the one down the street, I said, "Oh, do you mind me sort of writing an article saying how university is teaching Perl and therefore getting lots of people hired very quickly?" And it was like 2 weeks, and then I got an email from someone in PR saying, "Oh, we'll just hold off on that." So that's interesting. So instead, when you want people to acquire the skills, you've got to do some in-house training, unless you just want to go hunting for expert Perl developers who already have lots of Perl on their CVs. Then you're going to be, I think your churn is going to go up, right? Because these people are going to come in, they're not going to know anything about the business, and they're going to be given very elementary tasks. So you have to really keep them engaged. But if, in the long run, their career looks as though it's just going to be doing more of the same, they're not going to stick around. So you have to have a place where everyone can keep learning, whether it's technical or managerial or whatever. So the best is if you get someone in who's early in their Perl career, have them train up in-house, or use me if you want, have steps in their career where they take on more and more responsibility, and the senior people there are of a more mentoring or managerial role. So everyone is engaged, okay? And the more advanced they are, the more crazy things they wind up doing. Where's Gianni? Anyway, he's following me. Communication. What was I going to say about communication? That's a hard one. Right, yes. So, by communication, it shouldn't be one way, okay? If you want developers to remain engaged and to enjoy their jobs, don't just write down the specs, hand it over, and give them a deadline, and not expect to hear anything until then. It's not healthy, okay? You have to have developers in at every stage of gathering requirements, understanding the business, and with that, you'll have a whole lot more buy-in. Okay? Ownership. Now, what am I talking about here? Right. Okay. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about offering people shares. I think it's very nice if you do. Don't get me wrong. I'm available. But that's not the point. What I'm making is this. I'm talking about responsibility. Okay. So it's a bit connected with the last thing I was saying, but don't just give them a very compartmentalized task and say, go do that, because chances are they'll do the wrong thing. There's no way, in theory and in practice, that you can explain what you want in such a big complex system in a very confined set of facts which you're presenting in one little slot. The way to do it is to have developers involved in understanding requirements, writing them up, proposing, doing alphas, all that kind of stuff, all the way through testing, deployment, maintenance. And in that, they get a sense of ownership of what they're doing. And it will increase the quality, right? Because if they're just doing a handover, they think, just got to get this out the door before 5:30 so I can go to the pub and click submit. Goes off, yes, commit works, deployed works, things have fallen over, it doesn't matter, they don't have my phone number. Is that what you want? So ownership. And finally, passion. Another thing which is very Perl specific. As you'll see, there are people here who do all kinds of stuff as their hobbies for free. They write lots of stuff for CPAN, they give talks, they are very much engaged in the community and the whole ecosystem. And our workplaces should support that. Okay, set aside time for crazy coding, doing something which is productive to work that you hadn't even thought of, because there are so many little holes and gaps in the process of any workplace where you think, oh yeah, I'll just do it. I'll just follow the process, and you realise that you're wasting 2 hours a day doing dumb things. And so if you give them a hack day, in 2 days, developers can often come up with solutions to avoid that kind of boring work. It improves their life, improves your productivity. You do that, and everyone's happier, and people will stick around. It's a passion picture. You know what that is? Anyone?
Action plan.
Well done. 10 out of 10. That's it. Any questions? Any comments?
How big have you grown, Geek Uni? How many people have you got? How many people are you teaching at the moment?
It's
I remember when you started, I was wondering.
it's around the 100 and something mark. I can't remember exactly how many, but yeah. Yeah.
Send them our way when they're ready.
Sorry?
Send them our way when they're ready.
I can't do that
I
with
know,
most of
I know.
them because they're actually, a lot of them are coming through their employers.
No, I think it's a good program.
But the ones who aren't otherwise taken, yeah, they have. I have your site on your link
Yeah.
on my training thing. But
Oh, thanks.
So do you think there are other forces at work, like some of the agile methodologies that are around that might also be trying to kind of improve the sense of collective ownership?
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if that's. It's certainly. I don't think I've seen the word ownership in Agile. Does anyone have a view on this? But I think that is essentially what I've got from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I noticed with my transformation was the idea that you didn't own a piece of code anymore. It was anyone should have to work on that code.
Yeah, we talk about shared ownership,
Yeah.
so that everybody individually and collectively are responsible for the code.
That's but it seems to be very technical in terms of ownership of this technical decision.
Oh, it's supposed to ownership of a bit of a project or a
Yes.
particular ticket. You own your ticket from the time it hits you to the time it's actually deployed.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and the sort of the business as a whole, I think, to a large extent, have been at places where the technical departments seem to be like out the back near the toilet, and
In the basement.
you just get stuff thrown at you and get it out the door. Whereas a sense of ownership of the business.
I think that's what Agile does its thing with demos, because if your development team is demoing back to your business, you get that feel for, you get to sit in the room and see your piece of software being demoed back to business owners.
So I think
that
Agile
helps.
practice certainly makes this much more attainable. I should have called it Agile. Didn't I just ride the bandwagon?
Andrew, are you finding that people coming to Geek Uni are people who are in Perl companies and are being sort of sent your way, or are you getting people who are coming from like non-Perl backgrounds who actually want?
Both.
Really?
Yeah.
And what? So I'm finding, because we're hiring juniors and training them, but mostly they tend to not have had Perl as a thing in their heads before. We say.
Yeah. What's your question?
How are you getting people interested? Like, what is it a community thing? Is it a branding thing?
I don't know. I don't know what has enticed
Has
me.
triggered them to come?
I'm about to start a project where I'm going to try and extract some of this information out of them.
Because that would be fascinating. Because the reason universities aren't teaching it is because universities aren't being asked for it as much as anything else. If there was a massive
Yeah, certainly the size of the whole job market is about a third that of Python here in London. So yeah, it's understandable. But on the other hand, a lot of companies don't advertise for Perl old jobs, they say, come do Python and then fix this bullshit that we talk about. So in some sense, a lot of companies don't want to make it public that they're doing well. Sorry.
Do you have do you know what the split is between people coming to Geek Uni who want to learn Perl and people coming to Geek Uni perhaps to say, look, I can do Perl, here's me proving it?
No, not getting that much of that sort of applicant.
Do you think there's much of a need for that in this kind of
Sort of the ongoing development.
What I have seen
almost like quantification of your skill
Yeah,
level
fair enough.
in the random discussions I've had, I'd say a large portion of these people are entrepreneurs who want to get something out there quickly. And they've observed, and I'm not just talking about old people either, they've observed the companies that they've worked with or know something about are the ones that have moved very quickly based on Perl. So, yeah. Okay. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We go to your next one.
I'm still thinking it's
We're about to start.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay,
Go again.
I'll let everyone else go. This is a different part. I can actually people understand my joke. Sorry. I'll stay again. Thanks.
Andrew, that should have been mod underscore
I saw the same round, but only when I was I saw the arrow.
Was this about the growing country?
Probably.
Yeah.
Andrew, you took it down.
Are you Andrew?
I'm Andrew. Yes.
So it's over. I came.
No, it's on. I'll do it again. You don't have to see it for a second time. So.
Can you make it better second time?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Actually, so as you see, I've been shuffled around quite a bit.
Yes.
And the people who came before had been queuing at the door of where I was going to be doing half an hour ago. And they were all kind of more HR types, so I had to dumb down.
You being guarded.
Okay, so let's start again. I'm Andrew. I don't want you to see all those slides. Is it time to start? Or should I wait for some other people? Third time.
Yeah,
maybe it's good.
you're late.
It was meant to be half past, wasn't it?
It is time, but with the schedule being such a mess, it might not be terrible to wait a couple of minutes if you've got time.
I want to go and catch the end of OST, so between you.
Sorry?
I wanted to catch the end of OST to talk, so.
That's permitted.
Thank you.
Someone's banking. So up until now, what's the most exciting thing been?
Yeah, super.
Okay, what was being announced?
It's about dependencies and how modules depend on others and
Sorry, I missed it.
Stefan's talk on the mop was good. The meta
Very
object
sorry I
stuff.
missed that.
It's looking simpler and quite clean and
And it's not gonna
feasible. It's quite nice.
I missed out on a lot for 3 hours of teaching this morning, but I had some happy students. I was really pleased. I did some very, very serious marking. I don't know if you noticed, but I was sending emails left, right, and centre for my class in the morning, and I got 10 students compared to last year where we had 1. So progress has been made. These are people who would never have come to this workshop before. So. Hey, I think this is it. So sorry if you've already seen the ending. I'll try and make it a bit more exciting this time. So, first of all, I'll tell you about myself to put everything I say in context. See, I saw people smiling at that, whereas the other one is. So for the first decade of my career, I was an academic. I was doing maths. I was doing maths and computer science research. And I was teaching. When I got a permanent job, I was teaching classes of 300 or 400 with things like Bash and a bit of Perl. And as such, I was not just learning teaching, but I was also learning managerial skills to some extent. I was also managing research projects and grants and things like that, which come along with people, deadlines, and budgets. Okay, so that's one of probably the only important thing I really learned at university. But anyway, it's gone. No, I also learned Perl. And these are the countries I worked in, not the whole of these areas, of course, but Sydney is where I'm from. And I was in Austin, Texas. I never went outside Austin because it was scary, too many cowboy hats. I worked in Vancouver, I worked in Paris, in Berlin, and I even worked in St Andrews. But now I'm moving on from that, and I'm settling in London. So decade 2 as a normal human, as opposed to an academic working in industry, I decided to become a proper developer. I have been doing mostly Perl web stuff, okay? Whether that be retail or search engines or whatever. So, and that is very skewed, right? It's like all of the Perl ecosystem. I haven't done any bio-Perl yet. I'd like an opportunity if anyone wants to offer me something. And apart from being a Perl developer in industry, I've also been starting a business, which is Geek Uni, where I train people in Perl, in person and online. And I have approximately half individuals and half companies giving me their newbies. So, and now my geography is slightly different, which is where I have all my Geek Uni clients. I don't actually leave London at all anymore, but this is where I have customers from. Unfortunately, no one from Sydney, but I'm working on them. So, that's me. Here's the topic of today, which is how to grow a team, not just any old team, a Perl developer team. So, what are the challenges? It's basically a matter of not just getting Perl developers in, but also keeping them. Now, this is the ideal situation. You've got a company, you started it in year 0. By year 20, you hope that your Perl team will have 24 developers. It's not overly ambitious, it's not going nowhere. And the ideal situation is that you just hire a few more people every year. See? That doesn't work because developers do die. Don't know how long I've got to go, but I'm not going to guarantee 20 years to anyone. And furthermore, sometimes they just get itchy feet. They die of itchy feet. So this is what we call high churn. If developers leave every 2 years, so the developer comes and works for 2 years and then goes, it gets kind of expensive at recruitment agents. They looked at me a little bit angrily, but they didn't deny it. Okay, if every person, for every 2 people that you're hiring, one of them is going to go in a year. Sorry, for every 2 people that you've got in your staff, one is going to leave, and so you need to replace them, as well as get another one to to expand the size of the team. 2 years sounds like a long time, but actually it's a short time from the perspective of the company. So we want them to stick around for longer. And so that is largely the topic of this talk, how to get people to stick around for longer and how to recruit the right people so that you do have this consistency. So if people stay for 5 years, the recruitment agents still get a fair bit, but they're not completely screwing you. What's more, you're not spending so much in terms of your staff's time upskilling the new people, because that is far more than the recruiter's cost. Okay. So how do we get there? So this is the reiteration of the problem, which is how to grow a Perl team with only moderate churn. The churn is the orange line. And these are the solutions. And I was reminded that should actually be what underscore churn. Sorry about that. Does everyone get the joke now? So let's go through these 5 points. Balanced recruitment. Now, what the hell am I talking about here? This is balanced recruitment on day one. Okay, when you need to grow a Perl team, and the first 2 developers, they have to be thinking past what you know you want. Okay, they have to be making decisions on the fly. There's not going to be a whole lot written down. There have to be a mix between a genius and a cowboy. I'm not saying you should get one genius and one cowboy. I'm saying you should get someone who's a mix of those 2 blends. And that's how you're going to get going. But then when you have more business coming in, you need to expand the team. You need something a bit more like this. Okay, so you have to have a whole group of people who have fairly well-defined roles. They have roles which match their skill set and their maturity in terms of the business, and they all have to feed into each other. Okay, so if you have some very advanced developers from day one, and to keep them on, but you've got 10 more clients, and they all have to have this manual startup script written for them or something. These people are going to be slashing their wrists. Okay, so you need to grow. You need to have beginners coming in, perhaps learning Perl, perhaps using Geek perhaps being mentored by the more advanced developers, who are then allocating smaller tasks to them until they get up to speed. And so the more advanced people will be doing the more fun things, which include, we'll come back to that later, but include design and architecture, whatever that word means. Right, continuous learning. What am I talking about here? That is, would you believe, a university. It's a university I went to. Anyone know which one it is?
Andrews?
Hmm?
Is it St Andrews?
Nope.
No.
Look at the sky. No, actually, it's very clear in St Andrews too. It's Sydney University. No, the URL won't tell you, and you haven't got your glasses on.
I was trying to read the URL.
I know. Because the URL is where I got this image from, and it's actually a university in Canada who are collaborating with them or something. Anyway, that's where I went. No Perl was taught there. When I went through, I was taught C. Year after I finished, they were teaching C++, and shortly afterwards, they were teaching Java. Why is Perl not taught at university? I'd like your views. You should put your fingers in your ears. I'm sorry. Alan's sitting around because I've got his phone.
Second view.
It's got his bank account details. Okay, so yes, any ideas why Perl is almost no universities? The one I was teaching at was doing it, but any ideas?
Supply and demand. Supply and demand economics.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know the answer, by the way. I'm just asking people's views.
I think maybe they're looking at kind of bigger enterprisey jobs rather than small style jobs.
I can think of 2 banks here that have got lots of Perl in them.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's not because the language isn't strict. It's such like C. It's not as
You're getting close to my view on it, which
so
is that
it makes it a little bit difficult to define in that sense.
absolutely. I think for me that's probably one of the main reasons, because I think academics want, particularly technology-focused academics, as opposed to the humanities, they want something which is strict and clear. They want rules, they want formula, they want equations, and proofs.
Wouldn't more universities be teaching Haskell rather than Java if that was the main criteria?
You'd be surprised at the number of universities where that kind of stuff is taught, actually. I mean, not just Haskell, but Lisp and things like that. Good for them. And it's usually just a small portion of the degree. They do make one subject with that. And then at the end, they try and package the student up as a Java developer because there are lots of Java jobs. But the other thing is, of course, the size of the job market, and it's a vicious cycle, I think. So I was contacted by a university yesterday saying, we'd like to put together an OO course and give me context and whereabouts in the curriculum and what the students would know. And I said, so it's going to be in Java. I said, well, I'll be teaching it in Perl actually. And he said, oh, Python? There's no Perl. So anyway, universities have a way to go. And maybe they'll never get there. And I think we have to just assume that. We have to stop assuming that universities churn people out and we can just take them on. We have to do training in-house, okay?
Actually, Larry recently uttered the opinion that Perl 6 will be more suited for universities because it is spec'd. And Perl 5 never was spec'd. It has only the one implementation.
We'll see.
This is counter to academia.
Yeah, I know.
That was his view.
He had to pull his head in quite a lot to get it to run on Java. I think we'll see. I think it's still so magic that academics will have trouble with it, but I'm all for it. And if he gets those 5-year-old girls playing Perl, then all for it. So where were we? Academia. It's not going to. Well, so the other thing, of course, is that Perl is one of many languages which came about at the same time. Perl, Python, Ruby, and they're all sort of wrestling for a small market, for large market, but a small portion of the large market. So academics won't go the hardest one, which Perl is. So you have people learning Perl in-house. You have to give scope for them to either do in-house training or something to get to the point of writing Perl at a basic level, and then there's going to be mentoring from within the team so they can feed them harder and harder topics. You need to be fairly, you have to have a collaborative environment where they can work together and review each other's code. But the more advanced people have to keep doing their experiments and keep pushing out the borders of what you can do with Perl. Otherwise, they'll get bored and find another job. Okay? So you've got to leave scope for hack days and things like that, where people can develop their own skills. That said, it is also very productive to a company to have hack days because usually problems that you never articulated get solved. Communication. Each time I have to look in the book to remember what I was going to say about this. That's communication for you, isn't it? Right. So, this is related to the next one, which is buy-in, but basically, don't just go giving people specs on a bit of paper and saying, I want the result in a week and that's it. I think the developers need to be involved in the process of defining specifications, understand the business in the context. Otherwise, you may as well just be outsourcing to another country, which some companies can do, but they're not the most exciting jobs and certainly won't keep people sticking around for a long time. So yes, you need to have them involved in the whole process of deciding what they're actually going to write. Which leads into ownership, by which I don't mean giving people shares in the company, which I wouldn't say no, of course, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about the responsibility for the systems. So if they see that they have created this thing, they've heard about a problem, they've articulated what the problem is, proposed a solution to it, implemented it, had it tested, be involved in deployment and maintenance, then they're going to have a whole lot more emotional connection with that product and are less likely to walk out the door. Okay? It's their creation. And that leads to passion, which is, again, another step forward, which is that the Perl community is full of people who are doing it from passion rather than just because it's their job. They contribute to CPAN, they give talks, they write papers, create their own apps to demonstrate things. So you need to be very supportive of that. And if you can allocate a small amount of time at work to be involved in that, whether it's maintaining a CPAN module which your work depends on, or enabling them to do something completely wacky to solve a problem which you hadn't noticed at work, I think that's going to get a whole lot more commitment and make it less likely they're going to leave. So that is all that I wanted to say. Do people have thoughts that they'd like to share?